Well. The Falcon Ute, the pinnacle of Australian motoring. This thing right here, Barra, 4-litre, inline 6, turbocharged, 500 horsepower. But mine's annoying. Let me quickly explain. Alright, so I've now had my Falcon Ute for a year, and as you guys know, on the YouTube side of it, this thing is great. It makes 500 horsepower, it's a wicked car, but it's hiding some deep and dark secrets. I want to take you through the entire process of what it's like when you buy a car that's severely under market value, this one here being 10K. A lot of people will run you through the stuff and go, yeah, sweet, this car, I bought it really high Ks and it was super cheap and it does everything it's supposed to do. Mine just currently just doesn't and never really has. But it's getting there. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If you guys are new around here, this right here is my 2010 FG XR50 Turbo. Now it has 343,000 kilometers whilst I'm currently recording this video, and I bought it for $10,500. And for the most part, it has been a brilliant car. It runs, drives, it goes everywhere it needs to do. It's helped us move 2 houses now. It has done its job. As a utility car, it has done its job. It's absolutely brilliant in that aspect. However, when you throw yourself into the deep end of getting a high kilometer car that's extremely cheap, you obviously have to come to terms with, okay, all right, I'm not buying a car with low kilometers. I'm not buying a brand new car. It's going to have issues, and I'm going to have to spend money to fix some of those issues in the future. And what I want to do in today's video is do a bit of a comparison, because when I was looking at this car, I was looking at $20,000 for pretty much 150,000K utes that were completely stock with a tow bar, ready to go. But I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, because I'm spending 20K in a ute. That's a lot of money. But keeping that in the back of your mind, let's have a bit of a look at how much this ute has cost me over time. And at the end of the video, we can walk through, was it worth it, me building this car versus just buying one that's already done with low kilometers. So, for the first portion of today's video, I'm going to be running you through the cost of everything I have ever done to the ute. From there, I'm also going to talk about some of the issues that I had with the ute during this entire process as well. And then I'm going to talk about the things that I still need to do to this ute, because yes, it still does have issues. All right, so first of all, let's go through some of the engine mods that I did to this car. And because this video I'm going to try and make really nice and short and sweet, I'm just going to rattle them off. Maybe talk about a few little important ones, but at the end of the day, at the moment, we're just trying to get to that number of how much I built this car for. Now, before I jump into these modifications, please do keep in mind that a lot of these were also sponsored as well. So I actually do have a price list of everything as it would have been if I purchased everything full price versus the hookups that I got. That's all at the end sort of portion of this segment. Okay, so first of all, with the ute as it was, we took it straight down to Ant's performance. So he hooked me up with a turbo side intake and battery relocation, which was $550. We also did a stage 2 front mount, which is $1,300, an Ant's -8 catch can, which is $400, and then from there I did an in-tank 460 Warbro fuel pump with the hanger, which was $450, 1000cc injectors from Bosch, which was $670, ARP head studs, which were $550, valve springs, which are $500. The exhaust that I put on this thing was a full Ant's 3.5-inch system with the 4-inch dump and the cat as well, which is $1,500. From there, I did a few little gaskets and stuff like that. So I did the throttle body gasket, which was $30, the exhaust manifold gasket, which I did for $50. This car here is also running a Pulsar 3582, which was $950. Now, along with those Pulsar turbos, because they are built to suit the B series cars, you do have to get a couple of different brackets. So I did the Barra the World bracket for the Pulsar internal wastegate, which was $50. With that, I also did an IWG 75 with the extended clevis, which was $270. Now that didn't work, and that's going to be in a little bit of the last bit of the video. Now from there as well, I also did a Demon Pro oil feed line, which was $189, the Demon Pro coolant line, which is $149, the Demon Pro bracket to hold those two was $69. I also had to do a fuel pressure reg, so I did a Turbo Smart Compact, With the gauge, that one there was 300 bucks. To tidy up the engine bay a little bit, I did a Dayco coolant tank, which was 100, a Barrow of the World titanium studs for the exhaust manifold, because most of mine were pretty well gone, which was 200 bucks. And from there, when I finally took the rocker cover off and everything else as well to do those valve springs and those head studs, I found that my timing chain guards were completely snapped in half. So I ended up doing a brand new atomic timing kit, which was 875. Did a brand new genuine tensioner, which was 250. And then also the pulleys and the seals and everything else as well, I just redid brand new. So the pulleys were 150, the seals were 50. I also found a water leak as well, which was actually coming from the water pump. That one was 50 bucks as well for a Gates water pump. And then we got to the first tune. So we took this thing down to ProFlow and we ended up getting on the dyno, and within 2 pulls, we found out there was an issue. This thing was overboosting like crazy, and unfortunately we didn't have anything that we could have fixed it at the time, so we ended up having to go back to the drawing board and work out why that went wrong. As it turns out, the internal wastegate flapper was just not opening. It wasn't doing the thing, and as it turns out, the internal wastegate that I actually put on this thing, the TurboSmart IWG75, just physically couldn't open that much. And I also found out that the ANS dump as well also had a little bit of a thicker flange on it than the factory dump. And so that means even if the wastegate was to open even a millimeter more, it still would have hit on the dump anyway. And so unfortunately, we had to go back to the drawing board and try and work out how we were going to work out the overboosting issue. So from there, we jumped off the dyno and did a pulsar external gate rear housing setup. Now, thankfully, George from ProFlow actually had one lying around that he sold me for 500 bucks, and I sold him all of my internal setup. So hopefully he can make that all work on his territory. But yeah, I paid 500 bucks for all of that. Once that's all installed, we went back onto the dyno and we ended up making 400 kilowatt on the dot, so 534 horsepower. Very, very happy about that. Now, since then, I've done a DC engineering dress-up kit, which was 250 bucks, a Demon Pro catch cam, which converts it to a Dash 10 with the weld-ons and everything else as well, is 418. We did the rocker cover paint, which was 200, and then just last week the radiator exploded, which means I had to pay 500 bucks for a new J-Rad and including the tow home for the Ute. All up, absolutely everything I did engine bay wise for the Ute, I spent an extra $14,320 on all of those engine bay mods. Let's jump into the interior. Down at Autobahn Pakenham, I spent $2,500 on a full Hertz sound system. That thing absolutely pumps. It sounds so good. From there, I also did a Stingray car security twin gauge pod with a start button that was 250, the can checked MFD 15 Gen 2. That one there is like an OBD2 can gauge. It's absolutely amazing. That was 660. I redid the headliner, which was 250 bucks, typical Falcon things. And then the ignition barrel on the first day I ever got it was 400 bucks to fix. And then the Cap Industries fire extinguisher bracket with extinguisher was 150. So all up, the interior mods weren't actually too crazy, $4,210. Now from there is the drivetrain. First of all, we did the tail shaft with a brand new center bearing and brand new unis. That one there was 900 bucks. That made a world of difference. From there, we did a trans service, which was $680. This is where stuff started getting a little bit hairy. The trans service started to expose a few issues with the car. Now, when I originally bought the car, I knew that it had a huge ZF6 issue. It was starting to throw codes, however, it never really did it for me, and so I honestly put it down to a battery related issue, that it was bringing up trans codes and not shifting out of second. I was trying to make that issue happen, it never did, so I just kept running the car and hoping it would never come back. But that first trans service did expose that this car definitely had a bit of a trans issue, and so I decided to rebuild it. Now, because I wanted to go to a little bit more horsepower, which it ended up being around 400 kilowatt, I ended up opting for a built transmission because I've learned my lesson. I ended up rebuilding this transmission with a full stage 1 kit, which was $4,000. Now, there's a little bit more about this sort of coming a little bit later in the video, which I hope you're keen for. Now, with that as well, I also did a Aeroflow transcooler kit with a fan, which was 300 bucks. The fan switch was broken in it, so I ended up having to do an external switch anyway, which was 70 bucks. Since then, that external switch has broken as well, so I've had to replace it again for another 70 bucks. I've also done an improved performance oil thermostat because we're no longer running the heat exchanger, because in Victoria, it's also very cold as well. I've needed to heat that oil up a little bit quicker, and that's mainly to deal with a couple of other issues that the transmission has had in the past. And then I also got a whole bunch of Raceworks braided lines, which were about $150. So all up on the drive line, that one there was 6,620 bucks. All right, the exterior of the car. This is how I made it look. First of all, we did a Heyman Reese tow bar because originally I purchased this thing to tow. I still haven't towed anything apart from a car trailer with plasterboard on it, so I will be getting there in the future, but at the moment I have not done anything with this car whatsoever. From there, I also restored the headlights, which was 50 bucks. I also bought the FPV silver argents. Now, one of them was actually cracked. However, my good mate Terry at work ended up welding those ones there. So I got a full set of argents for about 1,000 bucks. And then I spent $600 putting 2 new MC6s on it because I had 2 pinch flats. I also paired them with some 20mm and 30mm spacers as well, which were 200 bucks from Just Jap, I believe. I tinted it for 450 bucks. Of course, I have a bit of a hookup for that, just saying. I painted the bonnet and the hard lid, which was 1,050 bucks. I also did brand new XR50 decals down the side because I didn't have any of them whatsoever, which were $90. And then I did some XR50 badges, which are actually carbon fiber from Prime Performance parts. Those ones there are 150. So all over the exterior stuff, not too bad. I only spent 3,740 bucks making it look as good as it does. And to be honest, it does look pretty fat. Like, I'm pretty happy with how it looks externally. If only it ran that nicely, unfortunately. As for suspension, I did the airbag assist kit, of course, with towing. I really wanted to make that happen. I wanted to make this look like the sickest, lowest, coolest thing that actually has all the ability to tow. So that was $837, and trust me, they have been an absolute godsend. Even just with moving, putting heavy stuff in the back of the tub has been great, knowing that I can just whip out the bike pump and just pump up those airbags to make it level. It's so good. I did a full Coney adjustable shock setup, which was $1,600. SSL front springs were $131. I did the 1-inch blocks, which were $190, and I've since removed them to replace them with SSL rear leaf springs, which were $600. They just work a little bit better with the airbag assist kit. From there, I also did a complete white line arm replacement, as well as bushings, as well as camber mounts, the works. $2,500 for all that. And I also did a white line sway bar, which was 600 bucks. So all up, all the suspension on this car is 6,358, and it's pretty much brand new to drive on. It feels great. Before I get to the figures of how much I spent on this Falcon right here, I have to tell you about today's video sponsor, Carly. On a recent trip that I actually took the Falcon on to Sydney for World Time Attack, we ended up actually getting stuck in Bright with a misfiring Falcon. And the only way that we were actually able to continue the rest of the 20-hour drive was thanks to Carly. This right here is not just your standard code reader. This right here connects to every single ECU in the car. And what's even better, if you're a BMW or an Audi nut, these can actually find codes that other cheap scanners cannot. So I haven't actually done this in a while, but let's quickly chuck the Carly into the ute and see what it can pick up, because I'm sure there's some hidden codes under there. Even potentially find that old misfire code that we actually cleared a few months back. And using Carly could not be simpler. All you literally do is plug your scanner into your car's OBD2 port and read the code straight off it. So as you can see, my Carly is connected up into my OBD2 port. And now once connected, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can get into. First of all, I'm gonna jump into the diagnostics, give it a quick scan and see if I can find any issues with the car whatsoever. Now it's already found 3 issues and oh, it's 6. Oh, now while that's doing its thing, let's chat about some other features of the Carly. First of all, you can also detect mileage fraud. So if you're actually going and inspecting a car, just chuck Carly straight away, scan the car and see if it's been wound back in the past. Now, along with that, some other cars actually have a lot more features with the Carly, to the point where you can actually change around some features in the car. It's very, very cool. All right, so out of the 4 ECUs that have been identified, we found 6 issues. Let's see. Health status, very bad. Oh no. PCM powertrain control module, here we go. HO2S inactivation. I'm guessing that's my O2 sensor code that I have had in the past. I believe this was the one thing that actually ended up causing that original fault code with my car. So that might be something I need to get sorted ASAP. And add that to my list of things I need to fix. And a couple of other minor issues, battery voltage, instrument control panel issues. We have an ECU failure right here. Oh God, more ECU fail, oh God. All right, let's just not look into that. Look at that, look at that. We're in the green down here for other systems, how good. Okay, look, so ignoring that, we'll just clear all the issues. Okay, so I've now cleared all of those issues. The Carly app is now going to remind me in 3 days after driving it to scan the car again and see if those codes have come back. It's pretty cool, actually. Carly has a massive online community as well, so that way, if you do have any issues, you can actually join the community and ask about how to resolve those issues as well. It gives you repair guides, it can do engine live data, and it can even check the health of your battery. Carly has massively helped me by allowing me to check my own check engine lights on all of my horribly unreliable cars, rather than taking it to the mechanics so they can go and check it for themselves. I want to thank Carly for sponsoring today's video, but then also giving you guys a 15% discount on the Carly itself. So use that code right there, jump into the website in the link in the description, and get Carly for yourself today. All right, let's get to the nitty gritty. This car, if I didn't get sponsored, if I had no one helping me out, if I paid full price for absolutely everything, I would have paid $45,748 for a 500 horsepower XR50 turbo. It's pretty bad, especially when you can get F6s for around that price at the moment. It's pretty ridiculous. And I already think F6s are overpriced as well. So yeah. Now, how much have I personally spent on this car? I'm going to be completely honest. I have done all the math and I've worked out that I have spent $30,781. Now, first of all, I want to thank all the brands that have helped me out to do that. But then also, I still think $30,000 to spend on this car, including the price of the car, is way too much money than even what I think this car will be worth. I did a little bit of looking around on some websites and I found out that this XR50 is definitely the highest kilometer Falcon that I saw for sale overall. It was also one of the cleaner ones as well, so I guess at the same time you could look at that. But obviously people care about the Ks a lot. I didn't because I picked it up so cheap. But I would probably estimate this car to be around about $25,000 worth or something similar. I don't think it's worth too much more than that, especially with the kilometers that are on it. But I guess, hey, you could also look at it in a way that that engine has been pretty much fully serviced, ready to go. There is no oil leaks, no coolant leaks anymore. It has a brand new transmission, stage 1 built trans. It's making 400 kilowatt on the dot. It's got a brand new tail shaft, got brand new tires, and it looks pretty good. But yes, I don't know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments how much you think it'd actually be worth. But yeah, I probably wouldn't spend any more than $25,000 on this car, personally. Personally. So now the biggest thing comes into it. How many issues did I actually have with this car whilst I was building it? Now this is a big one because not only did I want a car that was going to be, cheap and I could work on and stuff like that, but I also wanted it to be reliable. At the moment, I wouldn't trust taking this thing on an interstate road trip towing one of my cars because it just hasn't been that reliable for me. I've always had issues with it. It's always just never been perfect. And it's kind of the same as my RX-7s where I did so much to it. I changed a lot of things and it was just never 100%. So let's run through some of the things that happened with the car. So day one, the ignition barrel failed and left me stranded at work. All the keys were doing nothing. So I ended up getting 2 new keys cut as well as the ignition barrel redone as well. That was $400. That sucked. Aside from that, this thing has always been plagued with a transmission issue. And ever since I got it, was actually running okay, but it did have a bit of a slipping trans. And so what I ended up doing was just rebuilding the trans altogether. Now, before I ended up rebuilding it, I did a service so I could do the trans cooler and all those sorts of things as well. The trans service ended up showing a few different things. For one, the torque converter was in a really bad shape and it was slipping and it was just absolutely horrible. The transmission shop I went through, I ended up paying $4,000 for a stage 1 built transmission. Now, usually with built transmissions, you would get a refreshed torque converter or something similar. These guys, unfortunately, didn't do that. And so I was made aware of that, but they said, hey, look, we can do a converter if you want to. And then they said they'd help me out and they would just put another standard converter back into it. Now, not knowing exactly if the torque converter was the issue when I went in to get it done, they ended up putting a different torque converter into the transmission and it's doing the same thing. So I've got a basically fully rebuilt transmission with new oil, new everything else as well. New seals, new clutch packs, and a new input shaft. However, it still has a standard torque converter in it and it is still slipping. So to this day, it still does have torque converter shutter, which is one of the most annoying things. It completely goes away once the transmission is hot, but living in Melbourne, especially in the middle of winter, I can pretty much drive halfway to work before this thing even gets up to 70 degrees, and that's when it stops slipping. So it's one thing that I do want to fix in the future, but it is something this car has always had a ZF6 issue, which is unlike me. I've never had a ZF6 issue in my life. Yeah, right. The diff has got a little bit of a knock light load. Nothing too crazy. It's just usually when I'm parking and stuff like that, when it's like having to do a lot of work and I put like a little bit of torque into it, it does like to knock every now and then. Probably not something I should have to worry about too much. But the next one was the tail shaft actually started leaking after I had it redone through one of the pressed seals. I actually reached out to the company again to see if they'd experienced this in the past or see if they wanted to try to repress that fitting. I ended up getting met with zero response whatsoever because they did it as a cash sale, which means it had no warranty on it, and so I was turned away. So I probably won't be going back to that drive shaft shop. I ended up just sealing it up from the outside, and so far it's had no issues since. So I don't know whether it was like a small little pinhole or something similar. I was a little bit upset since I did say that I would take it back out of the car and I will bring it down and I will be happy to pay if they were happy to cover a little bit of it too. They were not interested whatsoever because it was a cash sale and there's no warranty on that. So that's unfortunate. Now, of course, the next issue was the first tune did expose that boost creep issue, something I've never really run into an issue with the past because all I wanted to do was stay internal gate. Ended up having to go external gate. That was a big issue. And so that ended up costing me probably a good $3,000 at the time to get everything changed over to external gate, do the exhaust, get all the parts together, and then go back for a tune. That was not fun at all. And the next thing was this thing actually had a huge oil leak from the timing cover. As it turns out, I didn't put enough silicone around the timing cover and it ended up pretty much just going belly up and it had a huge oil leak. So anyway, I've now redone that. However, that was just a nightmare and I really don't want to do that again. And then of course I had the radiator blow up on me a couple of weeks ago. That was also not very fun whatsoever. Literally just chilling in traffic. The car said it was hot. I pulled over. As soon as I turned the car off, the thing exploded over the entire engine bay, and of course it has now pretty much stained everything in my nice clean engine bay. So that's something I do want to fix in the future, but at this current point in time, I'm just currently whatever with this car, to be honest. There are still a few issues with this car. Some things I've tried fixing over time and they just haven't worked. So the first one is there is currently a knock in the rear of the car. I don't know whether it's the exhaust. I don't know whether it's some of the bushings with the new King leaves, because pretty much ever since I did the King leaf springs, I've had this knock. I did end up reusing the original King bushes and I do still have the white line one sitting here. So I really want to throw it up on a hoist and put the white line bushings in, so that way hopefully I can stop some of that knocking. Also, the King leaves aren't really that nice to ride on. They're really solid and probably really good for towing, but at the same time they are, as a daily ute, not very nice to ride on. And there's been a lot of times where I've actually thought about putting this thing completely back to stock height, taking off the spaces and just running it like a stock car with all the power that I had, because it was really nice to drive. But yeah, I do also want to get the exhaust redone. It is a little bit loud on idle, and it was actually really nice when I originally had the car without being tuned. So once the ANS kit went on, it was nice and quiet. I like driving it around. And then when we did the exhaust with the external gate and I ended up doing a rear hot dog instead of the muffler, we ended up going out and getting it tuned, and it was really nice after I just took it to Grubby from 21 Fab. As soon as we got it tuned, the thing was a little bit too loud on idle. Now, I don't know if this is something we can fix because apparently the idle just gets louder when you tune a car. And so unfortunately, it is a little bit too loud on idle. So I'm going to go back through it. I'm going to redo the exhaust again, probably put a Verex in the very back of it. And then also if it is hitting the rear as well, also try and go up over the diff a little bit nicer too, so it stops hitting there as well. Once again, the converter in this thing does still slip. It's something that I really want to fix up. I absolutely hate the converter shutter in this car. It is driving me nuts, and I've just learned to drive around it, but it's been almost a year now and it's not fun. Also, I found out the other day that the turbocharger on this thing is potentially starting to leak a little bit of oil as well. So we took off the front of the turbo. There's a few little things we might have found. I did actually end up plumbing back my Demon Pro Parts -10 catch can, and so that might be, I might have had a bit of a kink in it, which created a slight restriction, which can actually cause your turbo seals to leak from too much crankcase pressure. So that's one thing as well that could potentially be going wrong, but I'm not quite sure. We're just going to monitor the issue at the moment. The turbo still sounds good and it still spools nice and healthily, so fingers crossed it's okay, but we'll see how we go. So what's left to do in this thing? Of course, I do want to fix up the exhaust a little bit. I also want to do the torque converter. I also need to fix the power steering pump because I've done every other pulley under the sun on this car and it has still got a little bit of a bearing rattle or bearing noise or something similar. I have confirmed that it's not in the timing cover, which is great because I've taken the belt off and it goes away. So I do need to do the power steering pump as well, which is probably going to cost me about 500 bucks, and the O2 sensor, which I just found with the Carly as well. The Varex and muffler and stuff like that, I'm not quite sure. It's probably going to cost me about 1,000 bucks to get everything sorted there. The torque converter, I can't imagine I'd get anyway like cheaper than $2,000 for the whole lot. Power steering pump, probably 500 bucks, and the O2 sensor is $79. So I still need to spend a total of $3,500 on this car to even remotely get it to the point where I feel like it's going to be reliable. And that is just what happens when you buy an extremely cheap, high kilometer Ford Falcon. Would I do it again? Honestly, probably not. I'm currently at that little bit of a stage in life at the moment, especially now I have the motorbike as well, where some things, if you can get them and they're just nice and good, low kilometers, and they just work the entire time. The bike under warranty, I know is going to make it to and from work every single day, and if God forbid something goes wrong with it, I'll just take it straight back to the showroom. It's just one of those things that comes with buying an old car that you do have to get used to. And don't get me wrong, I love the Falcon. It's a great car. I've done so much work to it myself and I've learned so much. But this is probably going to be the last Falcon that I will ever own. Last probably high kilometer Falcon that I'll ever own. In hindsight, probably should have just bought that $20,000 nice clean ute and just been done with it, but no. But the last thing is, I also like making videos for you guys, and so far over the last year that we've had this car, we have gotten close to 1 million views on just this car alone. It has been absolutely amazing to see all of you guys come on board with this thing. We've been able to help out some companies sell some amazing parts. I'm hoping that I've been able to help some of you guys out with building your Falcons as well, especially from the first Falcon and now into this one here. I feel like this one here is actually, to be honest, if that torque converter was fixed, probably a little bit nicer than my last Falcon as well. It's a brilliant car, and it's probably a car that I might even keep around for a little bit. But at the end of the day, if I need something that's actually going to be reliable for me in the future, there might come a time where I need to sell this thing to get something that's a little bit more reliable as a daily driver, which unfortunately probably means going to a dual cab ute. Even though I absolutely hate big four-wheel drive cars, I just don't enjoy driving them whatsoever. It's unfortunately just one of those things I'm gonna have to do, so. And look, it could be one of those things where I put an extra $3,500 into this car and it finally gets fixed and it just drives and it works and it just always works. But it's one of those things where I have been trying to repeat that process about, let's just do this and it will be fixed. And then let's just do this and it'll be fixed. And then let's just do this and it'll be fixed. Over that entire time, it's just never been done. And unfortunately, every little thing I do to this car, just because of its age, is one of those things where I do this one thing, the next thing breaks. And so I fix that, then the next thing breaks after that too. God, these birds are annoying.